Hey, uh, still trying to figure out the intro stuff, but hopefully I'm not breathing in the mic too much or saying, 30 times, but we'll see how that goes. I really want to talk about like friendships, stuff like that, how I view my friends and how I view myself in those groups. I really want to get, you know, the idea of like how other people think too about their friend groups and stuff like that. So I do greatly appreciate any comments regarding that. But if you also would love to, you can talk about anything really. And just say, I've been having a bad day and I've been wondering ways you deal with stress. And I would say, well, I do this, but feel free to talk about anything of your choice. And I really appreciate anybody that took the time to view this video, but also watch it all the way through. If you feel like it, you know, subscribe, and yeah, uh, I kind of, yes, to start with my friendships and stuff, I kind of like realized that I have no friends. Um, I do, but and I can play games and laugh with a lot of people, but do I see myself talking to people in the future? Do I see myself like being around them and relating to them all the time? It's not really. It's like I have levels where I can build up and I can talk to them for a little and then I don't want to be in there anymore, or I don't want to be near them anymore. And it's not like really a thing based on like hate or something. Like I don't hate these people. I don't dislike them. I just sometimes I feel like I don't belong in there anymore. Damn it. Darn it. I said it again. Um yeah, like I don't belong in that group. Um I think friend groups are kind of like a thing that phases out as you get older. I mean, you probably, like I said, I'm not that old, so I don't really know exactly. But you don't really see people talking about, yeah, me and my friend group, we chill all the time on my porch. You kind of just have somebody that comes over, and then that's it. They come over and visit you, and then most of the time it's just family. Um, not really like, you I didn't really see like my dad's friends or uh, my mom. She didn't really have friends coming daily or all the time, and that was kind of like more so my mom than my dad for sure. But that's mostly maybe that's like a because she was younger than him. Maybe she didn't really have like that period where she kind of just grew out of the like friend groups and depending on friends. I know my dad though, he really only had like two friends, and the rest were like in jail or like kind of doing their own thing. Um, and so yeah, and I kind of like I feel like I'm getting to that point where like friendships where there's really like only two people I really cared about. Um, and we don't really like. And again, not to say that I don't care about the other people. It's just more that like I would go out of my way to talk to these people, and I would, I would enjoy my time more hanging out with them compared to others. Um, That I guess that's what you consider like these are my best friends. Uh, Unfortunately, I don't have one of those now, and that's because one of those best friends were my partner, and the more I'm not with her, and the more I'm like sitting here, sometimes cooped up in my room, or when I'm doing work, or I'm out for school, or just anything, I realize that I don't really have that person anymore. I don't have that person that I like to talk to every day. I don't have that person who relates to me on not the things we like, but you know the mindset we have towards things. We laugh at like a lot of the same videos, and we have similar humor, and I guess our interests do align, but not completely. Where it's like that's the what our friendship is based on. It's more like, yeah, I want to hang out with this person, and I really, and I really miss that. I miss that aspect of this the relationship because she was my partner, and I got to hold hands and hold them. I got to sleep in the same bed and do all kinds of things, that only a couple would do. Within, I also got to do that with my best friend, someone I played games with, somebody I, you know, hung out and watched movies, and we would talk about things we liked and stuff that's just going on, and I miss that. I miss being able to have somebody I could send videos to. Really, because she was the main person that did that. With I did that with. She was the main person I did that with personally. So it was kind of hard to. It's not. It was kind of hard. It's hard to lose that. Um, and I really do miss that right now, because no matter what time it was, I felt like I could say anything, and I'd see her. I'd see some part of her there. I really do. She wasn't my only friend. I think you can have multiple best friends. I truly believe that. You can't have like five best friends, but I think a good like three to maybe even four. Usually your best friends could be like a friend group too, and I believe that. Um, but yeah, I my other friend, I really like. Me and him are similar in a lot of ways, and it's almost like we're like raised in the same household, and um, the funny part is we never like actually met each other, in person. Uh, but it's always been like, you know, we'd argue about something, and then be like, "You're stupid." You're stupid, and then we get like mad at each other, but it's never like really mad. Like I've never been mad at this person, ever been like, I've been like jokey mad, like I'd call him like the most gamer thing possible to like show that like I'm raging at what he did to me because he's like raging is like getting mad. I try not to use like super lingo that's like in my age group so I can not alienate some people, but I did that with I would do stuff like that, or I would like get mad at him, but like I would it would be a joke, or we would talk about something for like hours, and we'd be like, yeah, man, no, I agree, or some big drama happened with like a company, and we would laugh at it or something, and as we got older, like we still do those things, but not nearly as much. You know, I um, and that's just because he's just busy, and I'm not really. I feel like I'm in my room too much of late now. Now that I don't have her, I'm kind of like, that void that he didn't have, or like that void that he left, or like that want to like hang out with somebody, and then they're not always there. She kind of provided that in hard time and before then. So now that I'm losing that, I personally felt like I don't really have nobody. I don't really have anybody I can like relate to personally. Uh, Again, like I have IRL friends or in-person friends. I have in-person friends and I have online friends. And I hang out with both. And um, but I hang out with in-person friends, and it's kind of like, yeah, we know each other, but you know, we're all like older, and we just kind of complain life sucks, and we have casual conversations, but they're not like really like too funny for me. I'm like, haha, yeah, and I'll crack a joke, but then I'm kind of like thinking like, wow, where do I go next? I kind of let them talk more. And then I do try to let like something I'm more interested in come out when if that happens, but it doesn't click, with them. Not because they're shutting me down or something like that. It just doesn't, it doesn't have that spark of like, heck yeah, dude. Oh my god, I agree. Oh, we should talk about this more. Um, that's how it is with online friends as well. Like I know them on a level of I can know their home address. I can know their name and their face and stuff like that. But as you know, when we talk about things, it's more like, "Hey, how you doing? What's up? What's no? You have this problem? Dang, man, that sucks." Uh, oh yeah, no, me, I'm okay. I'm just going through some things, and there you go. Or I show up for like a day, say, "Hey, how's everybody doing?" They're like, "Wow, you showed up! Wow, I get it's so nice to see you." And then I don't show up for like a month again. Um, or it's like when I can visit daily, and then it's some friends I join a we're in like a group, I guess, and a group chat. I guess I'll refer to it like that. We're in a group chat, and I'll hop in there and I'll talk to them, and I'll be like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I'll hang out a bit, but a lot of times I'm not really saying anything because the things they like, I don't really like, and the things I like, they don't really like. So it's kind of like it's nothing. It's nothing personal against them. It's just we're different people now, and we don't really we don't really get anywhere uh, in conversations. We don't really get in their interest. Once we'll play a game together, but we'll play like a game together, but it doesn't really like. Once the game's over, it's like, well, I guess I'm leaving now, and they're like, all right. So I don't really the after the after conversation where we start talking about something, it doesn't go anywhere, right? Um, and I really only have two people where I can like talk like that, where we would just talk for hours and we'd be like up real late. And one of those was my partner, and uh, it yeah, so it sucks not having somebody like that around. I like I said before, and I'm gonna say it again. I really do miss that. I lost not only my partner, but a best friend, and I don't really know what to do to get back there. I really want to, and I really don't want to push things, and but I'm a little impatient. Uh, I don't I don't really want to move on from that because I value that. I valued I valued her, and I valued that experience, those experiences. Um, but I can't change how people think. You can only work on yourself, and find different avenues. I apologize also if you can hear like me messing with my finger. Uh, I don't know why I'm like doing that. I guess maybe because the conversation I'm in right now is like something I enjoy, but thinking about. But I am. But as I was saying, you can't really change other people. You can't really push, as much as you want to. You shouldn't. Uh, Sometimes you will, and sometimes you have to learn the hard way that you shouldn't have. Uh, but you should really focus on yourself. You should be out there and trying to figure out new ways to make friends and find ways. Uh, I know that probably gets harder as an adult, but uh, there's a lot of people online. There's a lot of people that like the same things you like, and you have to start there. I guess you have to figure out what you like, and you have to figure out what you like and how deep you want to be into that. Uh, if you like sports, you join some sports group on social media, and you say, "Oh yeah, I really love this team," and they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah," and then you talk to somebody that and they really relate to what you're saying, or they really understand, or they like you. They're gonna show interest, but nobody's gonna do that first. It's rare for people online to do that. Um, I think unless they want something. I mean, I guess in that case, you do want something. You want friends, you know. But yeah, uh, there's also, I'm also not really mentioning like the out of person aspects and things like that. Like if you're still in college, join clubs and look for groups. If you're a nerd, uh, join. Look for I don't know, like D&D groups or something like that. There's ways to find things. You just have to look. Um, uh, I know like people have like a real big hate for AI and things like that, but I think Chat GPT is really good for just starting off with suggestions. Yeah, you say like, oh hey, what can I do to build a resume? I guess uh, essence from that would be some kind of experience. And it says, "Oh, you should do this." You look up these things and try pointing out these aspects of yourself, and then you write it down and you try and you look for those things, and then you go out there, and then maybe somebody in your corner can look over it, and you can get feedback for that. Uh, Not everybody has that opportunity, of course, but you can start with that, make that outline, and then YouTube it. Go Google it. It really stuff is out there. You really have to just do it. Um, that was something that I was really on myself today, uh, and I feel accomplished. That I was able to do a lot today. I was able to get up, get out of bed. No, even though it was late, I got out of bed, but I got out of bed. You know, I prepared myself to cook, but the food wasn't thawed out, so I was like, okay, well, let's eat. Something small. Let's eat a banana and then let's prepare a meal for later and stuff like that. I studied and got some work done. I sent the email to my professor. I sat down and recorded footage for this video, and uh, I really I recorded this video. Uh, Whether I'll finish it the day of recording, or maybe I'll finish it the next one. But those were some things I did today, and I'm proud I was able to do that. But just because I did it today doesn't mean to stop. I The part that I struggle at as a person is that I do a lot of things in a burst. You know, I work on myself. I do things. I try to push myself ahead, and I work out and I do it for X amount of time, but then something happens, or something changes, and now I'm out of it. I'm not doing that again. Uh, and I had to get back there to doing it. And yeah, it's hard to stay on track. And I believe that when somebody says, they're struggling to get there and they're struggling, it's hard to break that roadblock. I believe that it is hard. I understand how they feel, and before I'd be like, why can't people just do things? Is that hard, really? And sometimes it is. Sometimes your brain is used to a certain way, or it's used to thinking a certain way, and breaking those chains is something that's really hard to do. Uh, and you have to believe that you can, and you have to do it. You have to listen to yourself, and you have to go, hey, we did one thing today. What are we doing tomorrow? Are we doing this again? And is there something else we can do tomorrow? Or is this all we can today? You know, you don't want to do too much, though, of course. You don't want to overwhelm yourself and try to take too much at a time. And that's fine. Um, you can you can get there. A lot of people have, and a lot of people haven't. But a lot of people didn't take the steps to learn how to get there. You know, and it's understandable because it is hard. You know, I think my goal is to make friends somehow. I won't be able to do that at this moment. I can't just suddenly find somebody and say you're my friend now. But I want to take steps to finding somebody that I relate to and that I enjoy talking to. How I do that, I don't know. I will figure it out. But I think that I'm I'm ready to explore myself. I'm ready to explore what I want to do and what things I want to be a part of. I think friends are important. Not because they always lift you up when you're out of a thing. They go like, hey man, you got this, get out of there. But they're there when you say to yourself, I'm feeling bad and I'm gonna hang out with my friend. And you do. And then you have a good time and then you go from there. Being isolated is fine, but everybody has their thing that they like to do with others. They like to interact with others. They like to talk to and play games with, or they like to get nice texts and respond to comments and stuff like that. Some people like to stream and watch the chat, go crazy, and and some people sit in their room and make a video and talk to people that aren't there but can be there. And once one person comes, you can start another, and you know, and then go from there. Uh, oh, sorry. And that's kind of what I hope for. I really hope that I can not use this as an outlet to find friends, but like I said, I do really hope that I can encourage people, and I hope that I can have those people encourage others, and you know, and just start a chain. Uh, I know that I might seem like I'm super positive and really nice, but I'm not. Like, you know, I will call somebody a loser, if I think they're a loser, I think they, but I don't mean in the sense of like, huh, you play games and you're in your house all the time, you're a loser. I mean, like, you just have a negative attitude and you're just rude and mean, I think you're a loser, personally, because what are you winning from that? You don't win from that. You lose. You just treat people poorly, and then what? And what do you gain? Nothing. You lose. Um, Maybe I would just play a game, and I'm like, oh, this guy's a bum, or stuff like that, where I'm not really angry at them, but I am like, I despise something they're doing, and I'm like, I just want to groan. That's my version of groaning. Um, but I do want to be nice. I do want to be supportive. I do want to be. I want to be something, to help someone. Uh, Maybe if it was even small or whatever, but I, I want to create a bond, not through like parasocial, like, uh, you know, viewer to streamer experience, but like, as if I was really down, like somebody could encourage me, or somebody's really down, they could encourage me, or I would see a bunch of positive messages to one person, and then like, oh, they, you know, that's my hope, like somebody types in the comments and they're like, I've been really struggling and I had it hard, and a lot of people that would follow me would respond to that comment, and say positive things and say, oh yeah, I felt like that too, before, and this is what worked for me, and they come back, and maybe a day later, a week later, or who knows, maybe a month or a year, and they go, I really thank you for these videos, and they really helped me out, and you know the community that you created was something good, and I just I want to be a good person. I want to do good things, and I want to be able to provide some like some kind of good, and whether that's as a friend or a creator, I hope I can achieve that. Uh, I guess this one isn't as long. Yes, actually no, it's about the same length. But I thank you for watching, and I thank you for listening. And if you do comment, I thank you for commenting. I hope to respond to someone, and thank you. Maybe you prefer the black text. I mean, the black box of nothing and just my voice, or this one I'm gonna try to put some kind of gameplay in the background. And you let me know. I would really like to see feedback towards that. Um, or anybody that sees that, and thank you. Really, thank you for watching, and have a good day, night, or whatever. Have a good solar eclipse if that applies to you. I hope some Martians are watching this and they're just like, have a good. I don't know. But thank you.